Q&A. We are coming to you live from London. We are streaming all over the world to fans pretty much everywhere. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good middle of the night to you, wherever you're watching from. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Please, without further ado, welcome this wonderful collection of cast and filmmakers. First, please make him feel welcome. Joining us, writer and director Rian Johnson. And stars of the film, Mark Hamill, Daisy Ridley, Benicio del Toro, Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, Kelly Marie Tran, Laura Dern, Domhnall Gleeson, Gwendoline Christie, and Andy Serkis. Ladies and gents, please sit. Thank you so much. I'm selfishly going to start, if that's okay. Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, come on.
There are reactions out there to this film. I hope you've had a moment to just take that in a little bit. And I wanted to ask what your reaction is to the response from fans so far to your film.
Well, it feels, I mean, you know, obviously it feels really great to see people enjoying the movie. You know, at this point, I know we all just can't wait for it to be out in the world and for fans and crowds to be able to be there opening night and see it for the first time. That's I mean, got goosebumps. I'm very excited.
I want to quickly ask the new kids on the block down the line, if that's okay, what it was like to join this wonderful collection of filmmakers. I'm looking at you, Benicio, you, Kelly, and you, Lauren, as well, in terms of what was it like being on set for the first day with this wonderful collection of people? Kelly, do you want to start that off?
Sure. Let me try not to cry. I've been crying enough. You know, I will say that I've said this before, but I do think that I will be reliving those moments that we had on set for the rest of my life in my mind. You know, I was this complete new person, and it says so much about everyone sitting here that I felt at home on that set. Because everyone was so welcoming and open, and I really felt like a part of it. So,
thank you, Benicio.
Basically the same, because for the first time I was the oldest one on the set. Well, on my set, on the little set, you know, I was the oldest one, so it was kind of interesting.
Does that make you the wisest as well, though?
Not necessarily.
Laura, what about for you, please?
Well, I know we've been speaking a lot in the last 2 days about the environment that Rian created, but it was so seamless because it felt like any other film family. It felt protected and safe and collaborative and even like a small movie in some unusual way, but then periodically you'd look up and Chewbacca or R2-D2 would pass, and you were reminded of the environment you were in, but it was extraordinary.
Brilliant. Okay, we're going to open out to our crowd here, and we're going to go to the young gentleman in the front row there, please. Hello.
Hello, my name's Hector, I'm 14, I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I've got one question for Daisy and one question for Mark. Daisy, Rey means so much to modern audiences. What would a female hero like this have meant to you growing up, and what does that match the feedback you have from fans?
You're 14?
Yeah.
I'm so shocked. The thing is, I was always a book person, not a film person, really. So all the heroes I needed were in books. Books have never discriminated quite in the way films did. And I have two sisters and grew up in a very loving household and everything. So for me, I had everything I needed right in my home. But obviously, if I had been more of a film person, I think it would have meant a great deal. Because I really didn't, and I think that's why I didn't see the disparity so much, because I just hadn't had access to so many films. But the way people have responded has been wonderful, and I think it is only a good thing. And then to be joined by the wonderful people that have joined this film is great.
Yeah, totally agree. Mark, I love the line that the greatest teacher is failure. What failure have you ultimately learned the most from?
Great question.
Do you have enough time for this? starting with this answer. That's it. May the force be with you.
And we'll come over here to the gentleman in the front row, please. Thank you.
I'm from Portugal, and this is a question for all of you. Some people have mentioned that this film marks the Disneyfication of Star Wars. What do you guys think about this? Is just a word, or you guys think it's more Disney?
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean? Disney.
You're going to have to ask the people who said it. I have no idea.
You guys think they have elements of Disney now?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I know that I was given, and from the very start, Lucasfilm, Kathy Kennedy, and, also the folks at Disney we did interact with, Bob Iger, Alan Horn, Alan Bergman, I know that there was nothing imposed on this movie from anyone, and I was not only allowed but encouraged to make the kind of Star Wars movie that I wanted to make. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
It's a Rian Johnson film. Okay, we'll go to the lady over there in the front row, and then if we can get a mic to the gentleman in the stripy top behind as well, that'd be great. Hello.
Hello. Oscar, we know that from Force Awakens, originally Poe was supposed to be killed off at the beginning, but you were so good that you came back.
I just begged for my life, that's all I did.
What did it feel to you, as a Star Wars fan, which you've mentioned before, to come back and have such a main role in this one? Because Poe's really important in this movie.
Well, it's definitely good to be alive. I was really excited to see what Rian created for Poe, the conflict that he has, in a very brutal way. He took away the one thing that Poe knows how to do so well, which is jump into an X-wing and blow things up, and so he had to deal with being grounded, and I was really fortunate to have so many scenes with Laura, and it did feel like it was an intimate set. I remember we just kind of got up on the set in our jeans and T-shirts and walked around and rehearsed it and talked about the different motivations, and just to take that kind of time in such a huge movie was pretty special. So no, I was really happy to do that, and also, of course, to work with Carrie again.
Thank you. Got a microphone here.
You guys had a press tour from Prince Harry and Prince William during the making of this film. How was that, having them visit the set and see how you made the film?
I wasn't there that day, but you guys were, right?
Daisy showed them around.
Daisy, you were the tour guide.
You led the tour.
Daisy was there, yeah.
I mean, I'm not great at small talk, so I found it a bit awkward at the beginning, to be honest. It's the thing I think is wonderful is there are so many people. We're just like on the poster, but there are thousands of people that have worked far longer and harder, I guess, than we have. Obviously, I'm talking about actors. So I think to take them round to the creature workshop and the props place and the costumes and everything, and for people who aren't usually on set or aren't publicly recognised for the work they do, for them to have received it, that felt pretty cool for me.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, next question. We've got a microphone to someone there. Great, thank you.
Hey guys, love the film. Ryan, I was reading earlier that George Lucas called it brilliantly made, and that he had a chat with you after seeing it. I was wondering what he had to say.
Yeah, he was very gracious. He had some very kind words. And I grew up not just loving Star Wars. I went to the film school I went to because I read a book about George Lucas and saw that he went there. So to have a chat with him and to have him be so kind and gracious about the movie that we made, it felt pretty good, man. Felt pretty good.
I'm going to quickly duck into a question that's coming on social here, and that is from Thomas Allington, who asks, Daisy and John, was your training for episode 8 more difficult or challenging than it was for episode 7? John?
Yeah, in a sense, because the weapon was different for me this time. But I was training mostly with Gwen, doing a lot of stunt training. And Gwen has a really strong reach. So one must dodge and pirouette around her at all times, which is definitely more challenging for real.
How did he match up, Gwen?
John Boyega is a force in every sense. And I think there was a moment of of connection between us, where I've certainly not felt anything quite that strong before, John.
I understand.
I didn't mean like that.
Daisy, what about for you? We know that we've heard incredibly from some of your trainers that you outdid even their expectations.
That's very kind. I think that's just like learning the choreography. That was not doing the thing justice. I hadn't been like working as such the year between Force Awakens and Jedi. So I'd been strength training, so I was stronger. But when we got back into filming, we didn't have the amount of time to train as we had the first time around. But because I felt stronger, not gonna lie, I felt pretty badass. and I think the fights, we're all like thrilled with how they turned out.
Yeah. Okay. Back out to the audience. Have we got mics at anyone yet? Gentleman there. Yeah. Oh, you can. You're going to interrupt the cameras at the back. Stay in your seat, but you can have a microphone. Who's got the microphone? Go for it. No, you can go. You've got the mic. Go.
I'm from Bulgaria.
Hi, Mr. Bulgaria.
Mr. Johnson, what is your manifesto, personal manifesto for Star Wars? And the
personal
second
manifesto for Star Wars.
For Mr. Hamill, how do you keep, what is your most precious memory with Carrie Fisher during the shooting The Last Star Wars?
Well, you know, Carrie was first and foremost, she was a writer, and that's how we first really connected. So, I mean, we had a lot of lovely moments on set, but the times that I'm really going to remember her were when we were hanging out before the shoot and just at her house, and she was digging out books for me that she wanted to talk about and showing me, like, she was writing her, you know, the Princess Diaries when we were doing the shoot, and she showed me all the old diaries she had, all the old notebooks from the original shoot, and talking about words and just, you know, hanging out with her, man. That's I feel really lucky I got to have even a little bit of time to know her.
Can we head down to the dark side just for a second and speak to Mr. Serkis? There's a lovely question coming for you, Andy, which is from Brogan, who says, what was the experience of playing Snoke like and bringing him to life?
It was a real challenge. I mean, I had such a brilliant time working with Rian and the way that he decided to take the character in this. But trying to, with all characters that are, you know, representing evil or so-called evil, it's very important to try and humanize them in some way. So there's a vulnerability that we tried to approach with Snoke, which is born out of fear, actually. And I think fear that there is, that of course the First Order is in a pretty shoddy state and not being handled terribly well by Hux and the conflicted Kylo Ren. I'm sure you won't mind me saying this in front of you. And the mess that they're making of it. But the thing is about Snoke, there's this sort of public hologram, 5 o'clock in the morning hologramming appearance that he does to scare people. But then there's the sort of the wizard behind the curtains, like the Wizard of Oz. There's this quite frail, fearful because there is this very powerful feminine energy that he knows is coming and to take him down. And but always trying to find a kind of spark of humanity within that, even though he is, you know, a kind of a representation of evil.
Thank you. Donald, can I bring in Hux there as well, please, if that's okay? Hi. Was there any other roles that you drew inspiration from for him? Because he's such a fascinating dark character and an evil character. He has layers to him, I think.
No, not really. It was myself and Rian talked about the idea of just like a kind of a kicked dog, you know, because he's kind of undermined in the film, but you don't want him to lose the capacity of causing some damage, you know. So yeah, we just talked about the fact that, you know, a dog who gets kicked over and over and over again, eventually he'll bite back pretty hard. So that was kind of what we looked at, the hilarious notion of a kicked dog.
Great, thanks. Lady down the front.
It's the Disneyfication, I think, of the character, the kicked dog.
Hi. There's been amazing representation and diversity in Star Wars, probably now more than it's ever been before. In front of the camera, but behind, obviously, Rian, great movie, but we've yet to have a woman director or a person of color directing it. Why do you think this hasn't happened? I suppose it's open to everyone. Do you think it's about time that we have someone other than a white male directing Star Wars? And how can we improve that? Or have you got any female directors you think would be great?
Hell yes, it's time. Yes, and there are so many. I mean, my God, there are so many incredibly talented, female directors of color out there. It's yeah, absolutely, and so many that I would love to see play in this universe. God, man, yes, please, let's. I would love it to happen.
Great. And over to someone with a microphone there, please.
Hi, Emma from The Standard. This one's for John. On Force Awakens, you took Harrison Ford out for some lunch down the Old Kent Road. I was just wondering if you've managed to take Mark Hamill and some of the rest of the cast to South East London while shooting the latest film.
No, it was just for Harrison, to be honest. Sorry, man. I have to be honest. It was just for Harrison. I was just. It was much more of a chemistry thing. We was just trying to, Okay, there was figures I wanted him to sign, but it was my way of taking him out, and I paid for the bill as well, by the way, for you guys to thinking I'm cheap, because you guys are thinking he took him to Old Kent Road, and then he expected the guy, a millionaire pilot, to pay for it. I actually paid for it as well, but I'm willing to take anybody out. I invited Daisy to my house party last night. She didn't turn up.
You did not?
Bruv, I did, man.
No, you said it was happening. You didn't invite me.
Oh yeah, that's true. But that meant you were invited, by the way. So.
Daisy and Mark, can we just talk a little bit about the time that you guys spend on camera together and the preparation, or if there was preparation and rehearsal between the two of you for those scenes when the pair of you are isolated on that island? Mark?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
The preparation for you and Daisy's scenes together. Was there much rehearsal to that? Did you talk about it?
Yeah, well, we really planned it out. I mostly worked with my own stunt coordinators. Daisy worked separately. What we didn't expect was when we went to shoot the scene, they dropped tons of ice cold water on you. So at least I sort of wanted to work out how I was going to do the dialogue, and then, it was all I could do to, not fall over. It was unexpected the way it turned out. Now I'm going to go back to sleep. Thanks.
Daisy, for you?
Yeah, I think Mark and I have both talked about the unexpected reaction to reading The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And what was very lucky was we had a couple of weeks of rehearsal with Rian where we could just talk through everything. Because I think, like working with a new person and working with a new director, it's all big stuff. I can say for me, I don't want to speak for Mark, but it certainly felt like, we were going through something. And I thought it was great because I seem to remember it working sort of chronologically, or at least it seemed to in my mind, because as our relationship was growing, I think their relationship was growing. So it was great. It was great. It was wonderful.
Thank you. We got a microphone over on this side, please. Go.
James from Jedi News. We've got everyone's been exceptionally positive about Rian. So this is a question for everybody except for Rian. What makes Rian such an amazing writer and director?
He's very
awkward.
quick.
No, skip it. Skip it.
Very quick. I like that he's really fast.
Like running? When he's running? Like fast when he's running?
And thinking. And answering.
Fast thinker. No one else? Okay. That would do. Let's move on.
You know what? I like that he's so the laid back. He's like, I kind of describe him like a West Coast jazz musician. He just kind of hangs back and just he's fast, but it's also mellow and in all that craziness too. And actually, just you talking now, I remember when we were in your office with Carrie and just like we were improvising and trying all sorts of crazy stuff and figuring out those scenes, and just there was a real looseness to it within all of the wildness, which was.
All right, I'd just like to be honest about Rian. All right, everyone's saying something.
Here we
positive,
go.
man. I'm going to say something negative about Rian. Ryan has the worst playlist ever on his phone.
Playlist.
He decided to torment myself and Kelly while we were on top of a raft.
I loved it. I was singing along.
Like what? What kind of?
You were singing along to that?
Yeah, I was.
Wow.
I think Ryan called it a dad playlist earlier with me.
Yeah, my dad music. I gotta say
plays
though,
dad
I
music?
can admit now this was kind of intentional. I
What
learned
was
songs
it?
that you'd liked, and then I would iTunes search for the bluegrass covers of them, and I would play them. I might have been digging into this a little bit purposefully.
Yeah, well, it worked.
But that, as perfect example of Rian, the level of outrageous irreverence that was always meeting his reverence and respect for what we were all being asked to do was like the greatest dance and party I've been invited to.
Yeah, I think like this being my first substantial role in a very large movie, I just love that Rian had this sort of childlike wonder about everything, and everything felt fun. And you and you'd be doing a scene, and then you'd hear his little laugh, and you're like, "Oh, we're doing it! I'm doing this right." And it just it felt like really we were just hanging out in someone's backyard making a movie for ourselves, and I think that's really special.
Brilliant, thank you. Do we have microphones for someone? If we can get that at the front, and then if we can get the man in the front here as well. Hello, you first, please.
Hi, Amir from Israel. This is a question for Ran. As a big Star Wars fan that grew up on the movies, my biggest fear is that Star Wars will meet Earth one day. And I want to have a promise from you, as you're going forward with the next trilogy, that it maybe a promise that it won't happen ever.
Well, now we have to do it. Now you've said it is your greatest fear. You've just manifested it. No, and insofar as it's within my power, I solemnly promise to you that Luke Skywalker will never, fade up into modern day New York. Although that would be a really funny fish out of water story, like him just trying to use an elevator and wacky hijinks with taxi cab drivers.
Mark,
now I want to see this movie. Now it might actually happen.
Mark, you look pretty up for that. Maybe? Maybe up for that? No?
Again, I wasn't listening. What is it?
This is the best technique in the world.
Exactly.
I'm going to start using this at press conference.
I transported myself to a galaxy far, far from London.
Right, and we've got a microphone down here. Go on, sir, please.
This is a question for Mark. I think you've said yourself that, right here, you've said yourself that Star Wars is a lot about family.
Dysfunctional family.
Dysfunctional family. And as the sort of godfather of Star Wars, how protective did you feel about the newer cast members, particularly Daisy sitting next to you? And also, how protective did you feel about the character of Luke Skywalker when you saw what Rian had written in the screenplay when you first read it?
Well, first of all, the cast is spectacular. Each one so talented in their own way. But, like you say, I felt a strong sense of nostalgia. Like, I used to be the orphan discovering hidden powers. Now we've got this one. I used to be the hotshot, impulsive X-Wing fighter. Now we've got Oscar. I used to be the one sneaking around enemy territory in disguise. Now we've got Rose and Finn. So, I had to fight the irrational urge that it's a bunch of strangers rummaging through my old toy box playing with my toys. But basically now at this age, I'm happy to let the kids do the heavy lifting.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we got a microphone over there.
Hi, everyone. There's a bit of sadness, obviously, surrounding the film, the loss of Carrie. But 2 years ago, she was here with you guys, and she was incredibly funny and had some funny anecdotes, including Daisy telling you that not to go through the cast like wildfire. Are there funny things that you take from this particular film, memories you have of her?
Who would like to pick that one up? Donald, do you want to mention it? Because you had some lovely words to say last night on the premiere when you said what you would take away from this experience and Carrie.
With Carrie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't really get to work with her on the film. I just, but she was, it was similar to Mark as well. She was really cool about coming up to people and not having to make it a thing to have to approach her to say, hi, I'm in the film, can I say hello? And, she was just really generous, first of all. And then second of all, I think the magic of film is that you live forever. For people who knew Carrie, she'll live forever for them anyway, because she was just amazingly big-hearted and just totally herself and as irreverent as anybody I've ever met in my life, and wore it all very lightly. And then we get to see her as Leia in this film for the last time, I guess, and she's really brilliant in it. One of the amazing things, nobody knew what was going to happen with Carrie, obviously, and I love that Rian wrote her a beautiful film, and I think that's really cool that that's the way it worked out.
Let's go to another question, please. Do we have a microphone to the gentleman in the front there? And then if we can get one over that side as well, that'd be great. Hello, sir.
Question to the director. You have such a lot of talents here, but there are two in your movie called, I think, William and Harry as troopers. I hope you didn't cut them out from the movie. And on which place we could await them in the movie?
Oh, let's leave this. Let's leave the enigma and the secrecy.
I can neither confirm nor deny. You, sir, have been reading the internet.
And I
We
like
said
that.
there was no spoilers.
I used the opportunity when I met the princes. They came for a tour when Daisy gave them a tour, and I used that opportunity to try and solve something that had been bothering me since Return of the Jedi. Because when they told us that Carrie and I were brother and sister, I said, well, wait a minute, if Luke's Princess Leia's brother, doesn't that make me royalty? And she immediately said, no. I said, all right, Carrie, I'm just asking. But when I met the princes, I said, really, I really want your opinion on this. My mother was Queen Amidala. My father was Lord Vader. My sister is Princess Leia. Doesn't that make me royalty? Unfortunately, it was a split decision because William said yes. Harry said, I need more information. But I said, darn it, I need the ammunition to rub it in Carrie's nose. It's been going on for 40 years.
Thank you, Mark. Next question over here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from Star Wars Insider magazine. I'd like to ask you guys, what is it like, for us mere mortals, we wouldn't know, what is it like being immortalized in plastic as a toy?
Who wants to pick that one up? John?
Still waiting for that check. That's what it's like.
And they're waiting a long time.
Long time, Oscar, eh? Long time.
Daisy.
I just enjoyed for the sheer joy of being a Pez dispenser.
Yeah, right.
I don't care about the money. I want to be on a pair of underoos. Thank you very much.
Obviously, totally overwhelmed. We've got a question there. Hello, sir.
Hi, Mark. Earlier you were talking about feeling nostalgic for being the newcomer on set 40 years ago. And obviously you were playing opposite this great wizened Jedi hermit, played by Alec Guinness, the great Alec Guinness. I wondered this time playing a Jedi hermit yourself, did you find yourself channeling Alec Guinness or perhaps being inspired by another great actor?
Well, I was so lucky to work with someone I admired for so long. He was so gracious with his time, and we stayed in contact, corresponding. He wrote beautiful calligraphy with an old-fashioned ink pen. I would see him in the West End. We'd go out to dinner, and you know, again, this is one of the greatest actors ever. I mean, at first when I read the script, I thought, ooh, this is really pushing me out of my comfort zone. But if I were another benign, wise Jedi, we've seen that before, and nobody can do it better than Alec did it. So I think being pushed out of your comfort zone in this case was a good thing. Although I still say a Jedi would never give up. But that's old school. This is the new generation.
And we're going over. Yeah, have you got a microphone? Can we get a microphone, please, to hear? Thanks. There we go. Thank you.
That means it's got to be a really good question now, doesn't it? After this?
Really good.
Question
please.
for Ryan first. To put a more positive spin on the diversity issue, this film is being highly praised for the diverse cast and characters. Was that something you were conscious of when you were writing it? And then for any cast member who wants to answer, how does it feel being part of such an incredibly diverse cast?
Yeah, I mean, it felt right. It felt really good to as I was writing it and as we were, you know, I don't know, for Star Wars to reflect a little more closely the world as it is today and the world as it actually looks around us. I think all movies today are starting to do that more and more, and I think that's nothing but a good thing.
I'm in awe of the entire cast, and aside from Daisy, I look forward to working with them one day.
Oh, we can't end on that note, can we? I'm afraid we have to, because that is all we've got time for. It should be Mark has the last word anyway, surely. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time here today. Thank you for your questions. Star Wars The Last Jedi is in cinemas everywhere tomorrow. If you haven't got your tickets yet, you can book them now. Thank you and goodbye. May the Force be with you always. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys,
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey